Hello everyone, good to have you here today. Um Good afternoon, Mac. We still only have 4 people watching, so we gotta wait. Once again, we just gotta wait a little bit before we get started. Hello Camilla, good to have you join us. Hello Chris, hello John. We got 6 people in here. We're still waiting for a couple more. We have so little people watching today. Where is everyone? Well, we might as well get started if no one's gonna show up. All right. So the sheet you should have in front of you right now is this one that'll be coming up on your screen very shortly. This one here. So rate of change continued. So we're going to be finishing off 4.2 today. Today's lesson is just a little more difficult, just a little bit, because we will be learning how to do rates of change using this formula right here. Okay, so this one right here. Okay. So if you have this sheet open, let's go over it. This is an important formula. I will always give you this formula. If I don't give it to you, I mean, you can always search it up or have it with you, or I'll let me know and I'll try to post it up for you. This here, if I don't give you a line and you can't use the rise over run, right, making that triangle, you're gonna need a second way of solving this problem. Right? You're going to need a second different way of how to solve this problem and write it down. So what we're going to do, we're going to ignore this this part here. This is what we're going to be using to check our work later. What I want to focus on is the formula. So I'm going to copy down the formula down here. And the formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this is a very unique formula because you've never really seen anything like this before. And you're probably wondering like, oh, what's the 2 mean? Does that mean multiply by 2? What's the 1 mean? Does that mean multiply by 1? No. It's called a subscript. And a subscript is, in math, it indicates, you know, what group it's from or where it's from. It's kind of like a label. Like, for our case here, with our point here, if A is 0.1 and B is our 0.2, our second point, then each one has x and y, right? We write our coordinates with x comma y. If that's the case, this would be x1, y1, this would be x2, y2. So the 2 and the 1 that are subscripted basically tell us which point, which value are we getting this from. So if it's y2, it's saying we need the y value of the second point. For y1, it's y value of the first point, so on and so forth. So what I usually do before I solve any of these problems is first, well, we decide which one do we want 0.1 to be. So I'll say this is 0.1 and this is 0.2 to make it easier, A and B. When we do that, we need to write out our x1, y1, x2, y2s. Okay, so we're going to write this all out. So to make it easier, if you have two coordinates, right, it's literally from left to right. x1, y1, x2, y2. So going down, x1 is -3, the x value of the first point. y1 is 6, y value of the first point. x2 is 5, x value of the second point. And y2 is 2, the y value of the second point. Okay, so there we have it. So these are the 4 numbers that we need to work with. So now, when we plug it into this formula, all you have to do is plug in the numbers that we have here. So y2 we said is 2. So we're going to use a bracket to substitute, write 2. Minus stays, that's part of the formula. Bracket, y1 is 6. So we're going to plug in 6. Okay. Then x2 at the bottom is 5 minus x1, which is -3. And Camilla wrote it down. That's very good. Perfect. So yes, that's exactly how you want to write it down. Notice how the minus stays and the -3 is in brackets. Just because it's a negative doesn't mean it just disappears, right? We use brackets for that reason. So when we actually fully solve this, 2 minus 6 is -4. Over 5 minus -3 gives me +8. And so we can finally finish our answer and say that this is equal to -1/2. And there's our full answer. Okay? So there we have it. We have how can we solve for our slope using our 2 points. Okay? Using this formula here. All right? So I want you to try it for the second one. Okay? So I'll leave the formula here. Let's first remember the first step is writing down x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay? So first write it down. I'll give you a couple seconds. And then I'm going to write down and hopefully you have what I have. I'm not going to just disappear because you're learning this for the first time yet. I don't want to just give you a practice problem from the beginning. So let's give you around 20 seconds to write down x1, y1, x2, y2. And then we'll keep going from there. Okay? Okay, so your values, 2, 5, -5, -8. Hopefully you have those 4 numbers. So now let's use our formula here, this formula over here on the left side. Let's plug in our values. So y2 we said is negative 8, so we use brackets, negative 8, minus y1, which is 5, x2, negative 5, x1, which is 2. So we have our values here. Let's fully solve that out. Try doing the math now. I'll give you another 10-15 seconds to do the math real quick. All right, hopefully you're done the math. And so negative 8 minus 5 gives me negative 13 over negative 5 minus 2 is, let's see here. Negative 5 minus 2 is negative 7. Now, if you get negative 13 over negative 7, you'll notice, well, there's two negatives here, and we know that two negatives just make a positive, and there's our answer. If you got 13 over 7, you are on the right track. That's amazing. Very good job. Keep it going. It's definitely not office hours because I said it's a class, so that's their fault. That's their problem. If they don't catch up, they don't catch up. I'm glad that you guys are here. All right. So that being said, let's continue on here. Okay. So now we know how to solve using our math skills on how to solve for our rate of change or a slope. Okay, so this is calculating slope. So I'll leave that on the screen there. If you are not given the points but you are given an equation, you can substitute values into the equation to create a table of values. So here, okay, when we were trying to graph it and you want to figure out the slope and you're like, wait, I don't know how to get slope from here. Like, Mr. Choi, like, what are you supposed to do with this? Well, we can graph it ourselves. So what I'm going to do, let's pick our points. Let's pick negatives and positives. So we'll go negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. And what you're going to do is you're just going to plug it into, see how on the right side is this, right? So that's going to be what we plug it into, and that's going to equal y. Okay? So we write down 3 times negative 2 minus 2. Okay? Then 3 times negative 1 minus 2. 3 times 0 minus 2. 3 times 1 minus 2. And 3 times 2 minus 2. So I've replaced x with all my x values in each row. Right? And then here, you're just doing the math here. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8. 3 times negative 1 is negative 5 minus 2 is negative 5. 3 times 0 is 0 minus 2 is negative 2. 3 times 1 is 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 times 2 is 6 minus 2 is 4. And there we have it. Negative 8, negative 5, negative 2, 1, 4. And so if I ask you, oh, what are your coordinates? Let's say we have like a third column and we want to know what we need to plot. It's your x and your y in the same row. So we would have negative 2, negative 8, negative 1, negative 5, 0, negative 2, 1, 1, 2, 4. And those are the 5 points you would graph. And then I would ask you, hey, can you figure out the rate of change? Can you figure out the slope using this? Can you plot it and tell me what it's all about? Okay, so let's leave it there. Okay, let's move on. So we have 2 more pages, right? Similar stuff. I'm gonna go over this page with you, this one here, and then the next one, this page at the back, you're gonna try on your own. Okay, so let's go through this page here. So the first thing I want you to do for the 4 columns, you're gonna write out x on the first column. Okay, Then in the middle, you write what's part of the equation. So this part, the right side of the equation, you're going to write here, 2x plus 1. Here, you're going to write y. And then here, x comma y. So this is your organization for your table. When I give you an equation, a linear equation, you're going to set up your table like this, and then you're going to write it out like that, so that you can actually do the math and solve it. Okay? If you have a ruler, it helps for you to draw rows to organize it a little better. So if you have rows that you can draw, that would help a lot. So let's just pick values here. For x values, doesn't matter what you pick. No, it doesn't matter what numbers you pick for x. You can pick any number. You can pick 0, you can pick 1,000, you pick -5, you can pick 1,000,000. It really doesn't matter. But obviously you don't want to pick 1,000 or 1,000,000 because you need to graph it. And these graphs here go from 0 to 10 and 0 to -10 on both sides. Okay? So if you're going from 0 to 10 and 0 to -10, you probably don't want to pick a number that's greater than 10. And you want to make sure it fits on the graph. So usually my go-to numbers are like -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Those are usually my go-tos. So for here, maybe we'll do -1, 0, 1, 2, because I made 4 rows here. So that's going to be our first column. You pick some easy numbers to work with, right? Easy numbers to work with, very simple, easy to go. Then we plug it into our second column. So we replace our x with our x value in each row. So x becomes -1, this one becomes 0, this one becomes 1, and this one becomes 2. So there we have our 4 values. Okay. For y, 2, and then we're going to actually solve it. So 2 times -1 is -2, plus 1 is -1. Next one, 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. And 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Then when we figure out all the y's, we can now write our coordinates. So -1, -1. And then 0, 1, 1, 3, 2, 5. Okay. So we're done there. Now we can graph it using this, right? So every square is 1. So -1, -1 would go here on that point there. 0, 1, 1, 3, and 2, 5. Okay? And so there we have it, and we can connect it with a line. And there we have it. I drew it a little long here, but it's okay. So there we have it. So it asks us to graph it. So if you have this and you're understanding, oh, Mr. Choi, I get it. I know how to do the table of values. I know how to graph it. Very good job. Now for part 2, we can see it's linear, but let's double check. It says let's use first differences. Let's get that practice if it's linear or non-linear. So I'm just going to draw using green here. If we do first differences, 1 minus -1 is 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. And 5 minus 3 is 2. So just looking there, our first differences, right? These are the first differences in green. So that is all the same. So it is linear because the first differences are the same. Okay. Now when you do this, make sure your x values here, yes, you can pick your numbers, but I highly suggest going in like a set order. So if you're going like going up by 2s, then go to like 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. If you're going up by 1s, like increase the numbers by a set amount only. Don't just jump everywhere. Don't just do 0, then 5, then 3, then like 10, then like 7. Try to keep it in order, like from smallest to biggest, and try to keep it evenly spaced out if you can. So like if you go like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, that works. It's spacing of 2. It's completely fine. So then it asks you to determine the slope of a line. This one you can pick any method you want. Let's do both methods. We have two methods. We did rise over run, and then our second one, which we learned today, was our formula. Let's do rise over run real quick first. Remember that rise over run, we just need to pick 2 points on this graph here. So let's pick 2 points. I'll pick these two. And I'll make like a triangle here, so if you can see that there. Okay, so I've made a triangle here. And so my value here is 2 to the right, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 up. So it's 2 to the right and 4 up, which means for our rise, it's 4 positive. And then our run is always going to be positive. So it's 4 over 2, which means our slope is 2. Perfect. Let's see if we get the same answer using our formula. Remembering that our formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay. If we have that, we can pick 2 points. So let's just pick these 2 points here. We'll pick 0, 1, and we'll pick the same 2 points. So 0, 1 and 2, 5. So these 2 points here, we'll pick these two up here. So first, we need to figure out what x1, y1, x2, y2 is, right? So x1 from left to right is 0, y1 is 1, x2 is 2, and y2 is 5. Then we can plug it into our formula. Right? So we have our x1, y1, x2, y2. We plug in y2, which is 5, as we wrote down here. y1 is 1 over x2, which is 2, and then x1, which is 0. When we solve that, 5 minus 1 is 4, 2 minus 0 is 2, and look at that, we get the exact same answer. So it doesn't matter which method of slope that you like using, right? Whether you like rise over run, if you can graph it, use rise over run. If you don't want to graph it and you want to just use the math because you're good at mental math or you're good at setting up your equation, use this one. Now, of course, there's going to be situations where I don't give you a graph at all, which means I'm forcing you to do this method, right? So this is something you should still definitely practice, right? But both methods you should definitely know. One's easier than the other if you have a graph, and this is like a foolproof way. No matter what, you will always get the right answer if you use this method. Okay? So, on the next one here, I'll leave this up here so that you guys can see. On the next one here, we're going to write out our formula. But in this one, you can also write this a little different. If this fraction is scaring you, it's technically just 2x over 3 minus 2. The x is multiplying to the 2. Okay? That might be a better way for you to write it if it confuses you. Okay? Then we have our y, and then we have our xy. Whoops, what did I write? 5. xy. Okay? So here, when you pick your points, when you see a fraction here, I'm going to give you a big piece of advice. Yes, you can pick any number that you want. Okay? You can pick any number that you want, but when you see a fraction, there's always going to be numbers that are easier than others. And for us, when we see a fraction, you're going to take a look at the denominator, and you're going to pick x values that are multiples of this denominator. In other words, things like 0, 3, 6, 9, or negative 3, negative 6, negative 9. Those are the numbers you want to use, and that will actually get rid of the fraction later. So here, I'm going to pick negative 3, 0, 3, 6. I'm going to do the first row for you as guidance. So 2 bracket negative 3 divided by 3, I'm running out of space, minus 2. So when we solve this out here, I'm going to go 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Divided by 3 is 2. Or negative 2, sorry. And then minus 2 is negative 4. And so my final point would be negative 3, negative 4. Okay? So I would like you to complete all of question 2 right now on your own, and I will take it up with you in 7 minutes. I'm going to give you a full 7 minutes to try to do this. Right? Please make sure you try it. Don't just wait for me to give you the answers. There's no point in doing that. I'll give you 7 minutes. We'll take it up, and that'll be the class for today. Okay? So here we go. 7 minutes on the clock. Music will be playing. I'll see you in a bit. Okay. Time to check your work. Let's fill this out. So 2 times 0 over 3 divided by minus 2. 2 times 0 is 0, divided by 3 is 0. So this should just be negative 2. So 0, negative 2. 2 times 3 divided by 3 minus 2. That will just give me 0 here. Oops, sorry. Should be 3, 0. And then our last one, 2 times 6 divided by 3 minus 2. And that should give us 2. So 6, 2. So hopefully those are the values you got, which means your graph should look something like this. And you should get a nice straight line like that. And there we have our nice straight line. And so when we do our first differences, this is definitely linear. Okay, first differences, you'll notice here it's 2, 2, and 2. So it's all 2's. And this is linear. And the slope of the line you should have gotten with whatever method is 2 over 3. Chris asks, for the first one, how did you get negative 4? You do 2 times negative 3, so that's negative 6, divided by 3. So negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2, minus 2 is negative 4. Okay? And don't forget, these are first differences. Okay. So there we have it for this one. So your slope should be 2 over 3 that you got. Okay. And that should be it. Okay. Are there any questions on this? So that was page 10. This should be a very good guideline on how to do page 11. So your homework is this page right here. Okay. Graph the equation using a table of values. So once again, let's just make sure we have this all written out. So make sure you solve all of these here. Okay, referring to the questions, so on and so forth. Okay. but mainly I want you to complete question 3. Okay, question 3 is your homework, and that is it for today. We'll take it up tomorrow. We'll take up this homework tomorrow, and then we move on to 4.3 tomorrow, and I will give you homework over the weekend for you to complete. So that is it for today. That's all. If you have any questions, please ask me, please email me, whatever it is. Rewatch the video if you need some kind of tips, or you forgot something that I said. If you joined late, make sure once the stream is over, go back to the beginning of the video and watch the section that you missed. Alright? That being said, thank you once again for coming in and tuning in on time. I appreciate it. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Peace out.